Hey, hello. My name is Gabriel. Here in the middle. My name is Gabriel. I play the bass in a Brazilian band called Projeto Rivera. It's a very good band, by the way. I'm being humble. We play it's kind of alternative rock, mixing with Brazilian rhythms. But my question is talking a little bit about the criteria. When you are choosing and picking bands to play there, what do you consider most? YouTube views, likes, Spotify. What do you search for mainly?
That's a really good question. A lot of people, it's tricky. When Mark brought this up, and we were talking about it yesterday as well, about this suddenly being like this data-driven industry A&R habit now. And so there's a lot of people that throw those kinds of figures in other people's face, mine especially. But, like, oh, we're reaching, X amount of views on YouTube and for this one video and it's only out a month. And like, see, it's amazing, right? Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people watch the video, but that's not gonna be the singular most compelling thing to me. Maybe it is to somebody else, I don't know, but not to me. A lot of different cultural groups, cities, states, they consume music differently from one another. People within certain genres even consume music differently than one another. So some platforms are actually more of a better indicator than others. Some services are more of an indicator for somebody from one region than it is for another region. For a long time, even like Facebook likes, and some countries they can barely even use Facebook in the same way that others can. So it's not the right indicator. All these things might mean something very specific to one artist, but it doesn't. It's not. There's not going to be one single indicator to me that you're successful. I should just accept it, that you're destined for success because of a bunch of views on one thing. I'm going to have to look at all of it. And that's the easiest answer I can give, really.
See, I mean, I don't book bands, but for me, it wouldn't be necessarily Facebook likes, but it might be who your friends are, or who or if just the few right people like you. Because it's funny because I was thinking earlier of this scene, and I think it was Becco Drano's movie about bossa nova, where David Byrne said picks up a record in a store, and then he doesn't know, he loves it, but he doesn't know who this artist is, so he calls Arto Lindsay, and it's Arto, who is this artist? What does this artist mean? But if I told you about a band, hey man, I manage this band, you're immediately going to go on all their socials and stuff, and you're going to see the level they're working at, who they're connected to, and probably in 5 seconds, 1 minute, you're going to say, okay, Mark told me about this band. I kind of see who they are, what they do, the level that they're working at. You're going to be able to form an opinion very fast. So I think that the industry does exactly the same thing. I mean, of course, if somebody just loves music, I mean, then that's obviously the most important thing. But you could kind of, everything's a food chain, and I would kind of encourage. I've seen a lot of bands from Italy in particular, where the manager comes in with the band, and I said he's the bass player or something, and he gets a wristband and goes to a bunch of shows, but never meets anybody in the music industry that can do anything for the band. So it's just your social network, and then you make this real network, and you're gonna have to make these connections to bring in people to expand what you're doing professionally. So
yeah, and I mean, I think it's such a tricky space that we're in right now too, because when you're talking about numerical data, it's so natural for anybody to be able to say, I have a number, right? This many times this has been played. It's the new units sold, and so it's I can compare my video to the video of somebody else that's making the same kind of music, and my video has way more views, so I'm better, and I don't know, maybe you're smarter, maybe not better, but like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you knew how to get the right person to repost it, or you have a publicist or something. You know, there's a lot of other reasons why that might be the case. So it's so
Yeah.
dangerous because it is what we have to go on now. Or it's like if you have Spotify plays and we can go to the about and you can say, look, I have, 5,000 streams of this song that I just put out this month. And if you go, they're not all from Brazil, some are from London. And okay, well, that's interesting. Let me put that plus the number of views on the YouTube video, plus when I go and look at your Facebook page, and if some of my mutual friends in the music industry like your page, plus, I'm going to add it all together. That's me.
Yeah.
That's how we have to work, being in this kind of international space that we're in.
Sure, and like I said, I don't think it's any different than you would do if we asked you to check out, hey, this is this American band that we like, why don't you check it out and tell us what you think. You're probably going to go on all their socials and stuff and try to get a picture of what they do. One thing, is, like the Spotify thing does tend to be pretty important now. It's the one streaming service that the industry does look at by and large. It's frustrating sometimes when I work with artists and they're like amazing on a certain platform like Snapchat or Instagram, and they can post a really cool picture on Instagram and get like 10,000 likes. But then if you look at they only have 150 followers in their Spotify profile, which is not even verified. And it's like, can you guys pay a little more attention to what the industry is looking at? Because, that creates a lopsided sort of a thing.
Other questions?
Here. Hi.
Oh, hi.
My name is Regina. I work at a music branding agency. This is my boss. And our job is to build a musical identity for brands. So actually what I want to ask is, how does the South by Southwest relate to brands? How do they get into the festival? And how does Brazilian brands, do they have to apply? How is the selection?
If you have a Brazilian brand you want to bring to South by Southwest, run down here and tell me, because I've been working on this for a number of years. I would say this year I've been working a little bit with Bradesco, with Banco Itaú, and a couple of others who are kind of exploring how to use South by Southwest. It's not cheap for a brand to use South by Southwest, but it's basically a conversation to come have with me and let me know what your clients are interested in, what kind of things they want to be associated with, and we can kind of invent pretty much anything that you want. Where it gets tricky is if you're talking about associating our content, the content itself, with our brand and our trademarks. That's a bit of a complicated situation. We'll bring our legal department in to discuss that because, we have various licensing agreements and things like that for content that, because the brands are, always talking about how can we capture some of the content, put it on our website, put it on our social media. That's a bit of a complicated conversation, but it's one we're open to having. You may know, American brands and international brands use South by Southwest a lot. Almost some people feel too much because, as Stacey described, it's a small, concentrated area, downtown Austin, and you're going to see the McDonald's house and the Google space and the Microsoft space, and people who, so much of our artistic community is kind of sometimes a little bit not so happy with that, but it's definitely there. And we can talk later, and I'd be delighted to hear what your clients might be thinking about and how we could help you.
And I would say, sort of from that curatorial relationship, when a consumer brand comes into space like South by Southwest, we actually kind of, I used to do that. I used to work with our sponsors specifically when they wanted to activate in the festival space, and I really took great joy in it. So if you want to switch jobs, I'll go back and do that again. It's different now as the industry continues to evolve, and some of these authentic partnerships are actually perhaps one of the most significant profitable relationships for an artist right now over, physical sales, releases, and then touring and stuff. Like actually being able to align with a brand is a way to generate revenue, and as over time has been seen less as selling out and more as a proper direction to take for an artist. So at South by Southwest, when we have consumer brands, people that aren't industry endemic, so not necessarily like Spotify's or SoundCloud, things like that, but more like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Budweiser, whatever. They will want to have a show, right? Because that's why they're there. And they typically will have, there's one of two things that happen. They have agencies that they hire themselves because clearly they don't have their own music initiatives always. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So they might have an agency that's making recommendations to them of what kind of artists that they feel is correct for their brand identity. And then they come to us and they say, we want these kinds of acts, or do you have them? Or can we solicit these specific acts to come play for us? Other times then, this is when it's way more exciting for us, they come to us specifically and they say, we want to have a show. Who do you have? Like, who should we have? And like, this is our vibes. These are the kinds of things that we want. These are the kinds of things that we're happy to support. These are the things we want to avoid. If that's content specific, if it's an international look, if it's this, and more times than not, when we are talking with global brands, we try very, very hard to push them to an international agenda. It's not always successful because just like the artists and the industry, they have something very specific usually to promote. They have to show return on their investment to their global presidents and whatever. So, but if we're talking about somebody like, like Pepsi Cola or something where like you're in every, or McDonald's, you're in every single country, like how about getting some music from everywhere because we have it and building a show like that and stuff. So we do work really closely with them on that.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to know too is it's not only brands sponsoring shows, but there are a lot of different kinds of things we can do, so we can talk about that. Next question.
Tracy, eu tinha uma pergunta para você. Antes de começar a fazer pergunta, você mencionou que você faria um cold call sobre as bandas que tiveram aqui, e eu fiquei bem interessado em ouvir o outro lado da moeda, ver as bandas que, não sei se você tem alguma experiência que você pode contar de banda que saiu do Brasil e foi tocar lá, e como que foi a experiência deles, o retorno sobre o investimento, qual que foram as motivações que eles tiveram para ir no momento que eles tinham.
Okay, he's asking me if I can talk about a band that has gone to South by Southwest and played successfully, and what were some of the outcomes, and what was some of the feedback. Okay, so a Brazilian band, yeah. So I can talk about a couple. I can talk about Roger, who is an artist from Rio de Janeiro, songwriter, singer-songwriter. Very good manager, Carol Reimheimer, who did a lot of work in advance. She looked at the program, who was going to be there. She used the South by Social platform that we have to connect with people. And at Roger's gig, she had a music supervisor from ESPN who gave him the contract to write the theme song for the American broadcasts of the World Cup. She also, in socializing and going to the different parties and networking events, she met Seymour Stein, and who is, in case you probably know who he is, but in case you don't, he discovered Madonna, and he's the head of Sire Records. And he took an interest in Roger, and they've been recording with him and doing some different projects. This was really, Roger is a talent for sure, but none of that would have happened if Carol hadn't been out there and really just looking for every opportunity. She speaks good English. She was really trying to be in like 500 places at once to make sure that she didn't miss any contacts that might help her develop Roger's business. Last March, we had Far From Alaska, which you guys might know, a band that sings in English. And very well managed by a guy here in São Paulo who really knows how to connect the dots. He already works with U.S. bands playing here in Brazil and has a lot of relationships and a good network to build out of. I know that the band was then selected to go play at MIDEM, the International Music Conference in France, and out of that got tons of gigs and touring opportunities. So I would say it's not ever the case that somebody walks in necessarily and hears music in and of itself from Brazil that makes them go, wow, this is it. I got to sign them. I got to do this. I got to do that. It has a lot to do with the team around that group that really makes it happen. In all of what I would call the success stories, the Conseil de SXSW, Bunch and others, I would say it always boils down to how did the team around the band make the most out of the experience.
And I also want to, whenever people ask that, I also think, what do you consider success? That's also a very important question to ask yourself, because if you're like, what is the example of a Brazilian band that came and played South by and then went on to world domination? Okay, we have to think a little bit more about that. But what is a band that came and made a significant relationship, that made a significant next step for them? Then that's a success as well. So it's just kind of what are you needing to get? What do you want to get? Rather than these like anecdotal, magical, because those exist, but there's a lot more of these little successes.
Absolutely, that's actually my second favorite conversation after bad band names.
Yeah.
is definition of success, because I've worked with some people who, would be the kind of stadium headliner artists, and maybe just simply coming to South by Southwest and playing a KEXP set, which is just so kind of incongruous to where they come from. That's success.
Say what KXP.
I'm sorry, KEXP, the Seattle radio station, which is like a super hipster station listened to all over the world. But so you could have your fans and be able to play a stadium in Manaus, and maybe you're not going to play at Yankee Stadium in New York, but maybe just playing that KCRW Morning Becomes Eclectic remote from South by Southwest, that could be success, and that actually could be really huge.
Other questions? Okay.
Hello. My name is Rodrigo. I'm the vocalist of Alen Castro, which is a Brazilian electronic pop rock band. And I have two quick questions. One of which is, we applied in the middle of the year for South by Southwest, and I want to know, when should we be expecting to receive any return?
Tomorrow.
Yesterday.
And if there's anything I can do to help that work out. And
Dinner plans?
I don't actually.
Next question.
And the next question is, there were rumors that there was going to be a Brazilian version of South by Southwest in Neo-Chin, and I actually want to know if that's going to happen next year or no.
Well, these are actually two of my most favorite things ever: rumors and when am I gonna know? So my stock answer is, we'll notify every applicant February something 18. We do prioritize international applicants. I do realize that the wait can be very annoying. But also we get 10,000, and people. Well, the other thing people don't know about our organization is we're actually a group of 8 people that do this. As far as the programming and the evaluating for the festival selection, we're a bigger group for everything else. But that, so it takes a long time. And at the same time too, a lot of these events that we're going to, I mean, I have colleagues, my coworkers that may be going to other ones and stuff. Through the year, this is a lot of fact finding for us as well, to help us go back and inform our decisions for when we have the opportunity or the good fortune of interacting with those specific communities, whether or not it's seeing the band perform live or not, but also just getting more of an impression from the other people that we're meeting about which direction we should go in. So the other part of that is, if you're getting invited, you typically find out before January 18 or whatever, because we don't wait and let everybody know at one time. It's a process. So if you have not heard something yet, it's a good thing, because it means it's still being considered. But it also, if you don't hear after the beginning of the new year, it's likely that you might be getting a no coming at you. And I just rather tell people that, to be honest. But what will certainly happen is right before the holidays, because everything kind of stops for the holiday season, is that we will prioritize getting the rest of as many of those yeses out to international acts as we possibly can, especially because of upcoming visa deadlines.
And it's fair to say that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come down here now, so that you could like, get it wrapped up, maybe. But as far as Indochine, let me just say this with a lot of kindness and love for Bernardo and all the wonderful people at Indochine, because a number of people in our company have visited Indochine, have a wonderful impression, love the place. That was a pure invention. There is no intention now, nor was there in the past, to bring an event not only to Brazil, but to any other country. Our founders feel pretty secure in the fact that the magic in what they do is based in Austin, Texas. And while we encourage people to start your own version, don't use our copyright, don't infringe on our copyright, but we've seen it happen in Germany for one, and where else? Other countries, especially with the music part, where there are cities that have a kind of a walkable, cool club environment. People are doing their own versions, and they're doing conferences and music. And I know here in Brazil there's Path, and there are other events, and I see Wired Magazine is bringing events here. So we encourage people to start up their own thing, but we don't really feel we have the capacity to lead those. So no, there's no event planned for next year.
Thank you so much. Can I give you a card?
Immediately. Oh, cool.
Great. And I just want to say that after this, because I know we're going to end in a few minutes, Mark and STACEY and I will go outside by the coffees, and we'll just hang out there. So if you want to come and talk to us, anything you want to bring up, that's fine. If you want to talk to one of them and you need translation, I'll help out, whatever you need. I'm not sure how much time is left. Are we done? One more question? Okay.
Hello, everybody. Here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I keep looking,
Hi.
like, I have this weird thing where I just, like, if there's a light, I get, that's why I'm not good on this side
Okay,
of the
don't
stage.
worry.
On
It's
the other
okay.
side.
My name is Amanda. I'm manager of a band called Maglory. He's the frontman. We have received the invitation email this week, so we are starting to plan our trip to Austin.
I'm sorry that I wasn't able to see the show yesterday, but
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then I have a question. Of course, there are a lot of costs. It hurts very much. So we are thinking, how important is to find a press agent in America, or it's not important? What do you think about
Let
that?
Mark answer that one.
And thank you.
To find a representative?
A
in-
press
press
a
agent.
Oh, a press agent.
Publicist.
Actually, I'm a very big advocate of it, partially because I used to do that work myself, but luckily don't do anymore. It could be the single most important investment that you make, depending on what kind of music you do. But it's certainly, these days, probably the manager and the publicist, especially working very closely together with the artist, that's the team that can make the magic happen. And if you're doing the right work on that level, then other industry is going to find out about what you're doing, and it will lead to many other things. So if you can make one, yeah, that's another thing too. Depending on your the kind of music you do, also a lot of the blogs that sponsor that do day parties at South by Southwest, they will. If they're writing about you and they know you're playing at South by Southwest, they're going to probably ask you, "Hey, can you play on my day party?" And that would be your publicist will be a bridge to that relationship for sure.
Yeah, and that's really important because the more you play, the official showcase is important, but the more you play at all the different events happening all over the place, the better
If
your,
you have the
your
right
odds.
visa.
If
you have the
a
right visa.
Okay, yeah, listen to her. You have an opportunity.
don't get turned away at the border.
No,
but,
no.
yeah.
You have an opportunity to be seen by, by more people since there's so much going on. It's advisable. But if you need a recommendation for a publicity firm, I mean, I can recommend, but also there are people here, LMS, for example, has worked very well with American publicists, and there's some people here with experience in using particular publicists at South by Southwest that could probably
LMS?
share. LMS, yeah. Who do they use? Marauder, I think. Vocês usam Marauder? Tem gente de LMS aqui? Não. Do Thiago? Não? No? Okay. Yeah, well, I can figure that out for you later because I know that Far From Alaska used somebody last year that they really liked, and that might be a reference depending on the type of music. Okay, so thank you very much. I want to thank Sim, agradecer todo mundo. Papo
Thanks,
muito legal.
everybody.
Tá? Muito obrigada. A gente vai no camarim pagar nossas coisas e a gente vai estar lá perto do café para conversar mais, se vocês quiserem, tá?
Valeu, obrigado.